You shot straight, but you shot late. Hi, Lim. This is the Rundown Podcast.
I'm going to give you the rundown.
21-year-old Javion Magee from Aurora, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. The Vance County Sheriff's Office identify him as the man found dead near the base of a tree in a seated position Wednesday morning in an area off Vanco Mill Road in Henderson. The Sheriff's Office says deputies observed a black male outside of a fenced area near the base of a tree in a seated position, with a rope wrapped around his neck and the other end of the rope attached to a tree. A press release from a communications firm states his family has hired attorneys and says Magee has no history of mental illness. It says authorities told Magee's family he purchased rope from a nearby Walmart before taking his own life. It also says his family was told they could not view his body.
Hey y'all, I would have never thought I had to make this kind of post on my TikTok, but my family desperately needs your help. This is my little cousin, Javion Magee. He's from Chicago, Illinois. He was 21 years old and would have been 22 in a few weeks. He was found hanging from a tree in Henderson, North Carolina yesterday. He drove trucks, so that was his reason for even being out there. The police officers are trying to say that he went to Walmart and purchased the rope and hung himself. We obviously don't believe that, and we are just asking for your help to push his story out there. This isn't covered on any local platforms. No news stations, radio, none of that. So we're trying to push it out there. We really need your help. The police officers in the coroner's office are giving us a hard time, not allowing his mom to identify the body. At one point, they told her she can't identify the body due to COVID. And then the next day, today, they told her the father has to give her permission for that, which he said that he would. She asked if they could send her pictures at least. They told her yes, and then turned around and told her, oh, I don't think that you want to see your son like that. Come on. Like, this is just very devastating for my family, and we really need to push this story out there. So if y'all could please repost this video, keep saying his name, Javion Magee, hashtag justice for Javion, and we are going to fight for him, and we are standing behind my cousin 100%, and they're not getting away with this. So please, share this video. Thank you.
Gathering in front of the sheriff's office seeking answers on the death of Javion Magee. Just 21 years old, he just got his CDL license for a Chicago area trucking company. He was in Henderson making a drop-off at the Walmart distribution center and was found dead Wednesday morning off Vanco Mill Road, not far from his truck, sitting with his back to a tree with a rope around his neck. The sheriff today told me he doesn't believe there was foul play, but he wouldn't call it a... He did say, however, there was evidence Javion may have bought rope from a nearby Walmart.
We're going down every avenue, every aspect, all the information, videos. We got in contact with the trucking company to get his GPS reading.
In the meantime, the sheriff trying to tamp down rumors that are swirling on social media.
The rope was wrapped around his neck. It was not a noose. It was not a knot in the rope. So therefore, it was not a lynching here in Vance County.
But those responses aren't adding up for Javion's family. A spokesperson for his mom telling us Javion always talked to his family and there were never any signs of problems.
A lot of this stuff does not pass the smell test, and that is a problem.
Now left mourning a loss from hundreds of miles away as they look for answers.
The entire family are completely mortified. They are hurt. They are, have a lot of questions, because they want to know what actually happened to their loved one.
And that is what we are trying to get to the bottom of. Right now, the sheriff tells me the SBI is assisting in this investigation. They also tell me that an autopsy is being conducted on Javion today. Once we get the results of that autopsy, then they'll be able to better determine whether this was, in fact, a... Obviously, so heartbreaking for this family. The family tells me some are making their way here to North Carolina.
Good evening, Steve. So this story has really caught the eye of so many people nationwide. And so Eyewitness News, we were able to get a look at that search warrant and also that outlines some things that happened while Javion was here in town. And then also, we also got the preliminary autopsy report. But these findings just still don't sit well with his family.
Tonight, the family of Javion Magee, a 21-year-old truck driver from the suburbs of Chicago, grieving an unthinkable loss.
He loved his family. He loved just enjoying himself, and he loved being a truck driver. That was what he loved to do. So it's like everybody is confused right now. Like, what is this?
Candace Matthews, the family's representative, is sharing the latest thoughts of Javion's closest loved ones. Their world in turmoil after they say Vance County Sheriff's Office called them to say their loved one died by. The Sheriff's Office says there's no sign he was a victim of a crime. Eyewitness News combed through the search warrant. According to those documents, he was in town making a delivery. At 6:20 p.m. on September 10th, he was seen on camera buying a rope at this Walmart, apparently the same rope found with his body. 12 minutes later, he was seen entering this Hampton Inn on Ruin Creek Road. An associate at the hotel told us off camera they didn't have any rooms available that night. He then drove to Vanco Mill Road, where surveillance video shows his truck pulling in and Magee walking away. Then just after 10 a.m. on September 11th, a 911 call led officers to Magee's body.
There's been information put out there that there's a lynching in Vance County. There is not a lynching in Vance County. The young man was not dangling from a tree. He was not swinging from a tree. The rope was wrapped around his neck. It was not a noose. It was not a knot in the rope. So therefore, it was not a lynching here in Vance County.
The sheriff tells us the state attorney general and the SBI have been contacted and are involved in the case.
The family feels that they deserve accountability, and the family feels that they deserve justice. And this is what we are all going to do to ensure that that family gets some type of closure.
Now, in terms of that autopsy report, the sheriff tells me that there is no cause of death just yet. They were able to also determine so far that there are no obvious signs that he was trying to defend himself, but there are signs that there was some hemorrhaging around the soft part of his neck. Another thing that they're waiting on regarding this autopsy that hasn't come in yet is also the toxicology report. So they're also waiting on that. So again, a lot of details still unknown so far. We're told the family is still due to make their way here to Vance County to learn more details about their loved one's death.
Just in the last 20 minutes, we've gotten a search warrant that gives us more insight into this investigation. A representative for the family says that Javion Magee was a truck driver, and I'm told that trucks often park here while making deliveries at a nearby Walmart distribution center. The sheriff said that Magee was found outside of a fenced area of this business, and they say that they found him at the base of a tree with a rope around his neck.
21-year-old Javion Magee stopped through Vance County as part of his job as a truck driver. It's a long way from where he lived in Illinois. Deputies found him dead Wednesday under a tree with a rope wrapped around his neck.
We have a lot of questions, not enough answers.
Candace Matthews identifies herself as a spokesperson for his family. She says law enforcement initially told them Magee died by.
This young man has not had no indication of have a history of mental illness.
At no point in time that we have said this was.
Vance County Sheriff Curtis Brame says they're still investigating Magee's death. Magee's family does not believe he took his own life.
But how can we rule out a hate crime at this point?
Look at me and who I am. If I thought that anyone, regardless of their race, was lynched in Vance County, I would have it all over national news. When we got there, he was sitting with his back up against the tree on the ground. It's something common we would say, and we would call a jail homicide, where a person does not have enough height to hang or dangle.
Magee's family says they were told surveillance footage showed Magee buying a rope from Walmart. The sheriff says they're still looking into that. He says the medical examiner's office will officially determine the cause of death.
Mom and stepdad and dad have not even seen his body yet.
Sheriff Brame says the family could not view the body in person due to distance.
We want to see everything. We want full transparency.
As I mentioned before, we do now have a search warrant. We're going to continue to dig through that and bring you those details as we get them. Even at this hour, the family stories and law enforcement stories don't quite align. Now, Magee's family has hired a national civil rights attorney, and an autopsy has been ordered and will be performed.
The sheriff says he did not see any signs of foul play, but also would not call this his.
There's been information put out there that there's a lynching in Vance County. There is not a lynching in Vance County. The young man was not dangling from a tree. He was not swinging from a tree. The rope was wrapped around his neck. It was not a noose. It was not a knot in the rope. So therefore, it was not a lynching here in Vance County.
Things are very suspicious in the death of Javion Magee. And as of now, we're trying to put everything together and gather the facts. And there's a lot of misinformation going on about what really happened to Javion Magee out there in Vance County, North Carolina. And they're saying that this truck driver, Javion Magee, 21 years old, was out on a route, and he was out there at the Walmart distribution center dropping off a load out there on his route, and that's when all hell broke loose, you guys. And things started getting real mysterious around how Javion Magee came to be found unalived out there in Vance County, North Carolina. So slide with me as we unravel this mysterious, suspicious death. Buckle up. Run it. Local law enforcement denied lynching took place in Vance County, despite calls for justice for a black truck driver found dead with a rope around his neck in Henderson growing viral on social media. Vance County Sheriff Curtis R. Brame told the News and Observer's news gathering partner, ABC 11, that the information being reported on social media is not accurate about the 21-year-old Javion Magee of Chicago being lynched in Henderson. The sheriff will go on to say that there is not a lynching. The young man was not dangling from a tree. He was not swinging from a tree. The rope was wrapped around his neck. It was not a noose, Brame said. Despite those claims, lawyers and civil rights organizations are calling for a thorough and transparent investigation on what really went on with the mysterious, suspicious death of Javion Magee. That morning at 10:08 a.m., deputies with the Vance County Sheriff's Office were called to 285 Vanco Mill Road. On arrival, deputies found the man in a seated position with the rope wrapped around his neck and the other end of the rope attached to a tree, according to a press release sent out on Friday. That man has been positively identified as Javion Magee of Aurora, Illinois. And the area where Magee was found was outside of a fenced-in area, the sheriff's office said. The location is near a tractor repair business and a Baptist church near the intersection of Vanco Mill and Martin Creek Roads. Since being discovered, Magee has been transferred to the North Carolina Chief Medical Examiner's Office for an autopsy to be performed. At this time, authorities have not given a cause of his death. In a press release, a family spokesman, who happens to be Candace Matthews, said authorities told them that they couldn't view the body, and a video posted by a family member on social media went viral overnight. As of today, the authorities haven't shown us anything proving that this young man with no history of mental illness took his own self out, said Daniels. How can the police expect us to take their word for it when they won't even let the family view his body? And civil rights leader Bishop William Barber II has also spoken out about the death investigation. He said we must have truth and transparency in this matter. Hanging is not a form of death that can be easily dismissed, particularly here in the South, where it has been used as a weapon of terror against black families and generations. Join attorneys Daniels and Merritt as they seek truth and justice for Javion Magee and his family. A Vance County search warrant outlines the steps investigators have taken to investigate Magee's death and the evidence they have found so far. The warrant allowed officials to search Magee's white semi-tractor. On September 11th at 10:10 a.m., the sheriff's office was dispatched to 285 Vance Mill Road in Henderson after a report of a possible person who did harm to themselves, according to the warrant. Detective Labra found a man with a distinctive forearm tattoo wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and black shorts, sitting at the base of a tree with a blue rope wrapped around his neck, the warrant states. The detective's first name wasn't included in the warrant, right? So they redacted the officer's name, the detective's name, out of that warrant for some reason. but we do know that the last name of that detective happens to be Labra. The man's legs were resting on the ground, facing away from the tree. He was wearing dark Crocs, plastic clog-like shoes that slip on, the warrant states. The decedent displayed no visible signs of assault or any outside trauma to his body, the warrant states. At the man's feet, investigators found ripped paper wrappings which displayed the brand of a blue rope and Walmart.com, the warrant states. Unopened colors sheet wraps, which are used for smoking, were also found. The detective contacted the medical examiner, who made arrangements to transport the body to Raleigh. Since Labra hadn't found any identification, he went to Walmart in Henderson, the warrant states. There he linked the information on the wrapping to Magee using the self-checkout to pay $4.20 for the rope at 6:20 p.m. on September 10th, the warrant states. Walmart surveillance video shows Magee wearing the same clothing that he had on when he was found by the tree, leaving the Walmart alone and entering the driver's side door of a large white semi-trailer. The detective relayed information to other investigators at the scene where Magee was found. Investigators located the semi-tractor about 70 yards away from where Magee was, the warrant states. In the truck, investigators found a Walmart receipt and Magee's identification. That receipt was to the rope that allegedly was around Magee's neck. Investigators also reached out to KLLM Trucking, which tracked the movements of the tractor being driven by Magee. That information indicated that Magee went to a Hampton Inn on Ruin Creek Road in Henderson about 15 minutes after he left Walmart, the warrant states. Surveillance footage showed a man wearing the same clothing as Magee walking into the front desk and leaving around 6:36 p.m., the warrant states. Other surveillance showed Magee still alone, right? Purchasing a wrapper at a local smoke shop. Surveillance footage from a Shell gas station then shows the truck traveling on Vance Mill Road, making a left turn into T&R Tractor and Trailer Repair. A man wearing a white shirt and black shorts is later seen leaving the white trailer and walking alone with a white bag toward the direction where Magee's body was found the next day. The footage does not show him returning at all, the warrant states. So if Magee got there and he parked his truck at this T&R Tractor Trailer Repair, right? And this is right before 7 o'clock p.m. that night. That means Magee was there from all the way from 7 p.m. that night till his body was found the next day at 10:08 a.m. that morning. And nobody noticed Magee there at this tree, right there outside the fenced-in gate where he parked his truck. Wowzers. Yikes. So nobody made contact with Magee. If it's fenced in, is it some type of security guard there? He made no contact with nobody. He just was able to drive his tractor trailer, his 18-wheeler, and his, what is that, T&R Tractor and Trailer Repair, right? And just park it without no conversation from anybody, no sighting of nobody else at that premises to actually see Magee do all this and walk away from his tractor trailer, right? Now I find that very, very suspicious. Officials are continuing to investigate the death and plan to review information on Magee's cell phone and search his truck, said Mike Waters, district attorney for Vance and surrounding counties. A North Carolina medical examiner will also determine the cause of Magee's death, said Waters. And I feel at this point that this investigation has been conducted the same way any other suspicious death investigation would be, and they are doing all that they can do, Waters said. Javion Magee's family feels like that the law enforcement there in Henderson isn't being transparent about what happened to Javion Magee out there that night leading up to that morning of September the 11th. The family of Javion Magee said that law enforcement told them specifically that Javion Magee took the rope and did something horrible to his own self. And the family is saying that, hey, y'all told us that, but law enforcement is negating the fact that they told the family anything of that sort. Javion's family is saying no way did Javion do this to himself. And the sheriff there is saying, well, we found no signs of foul play, so as of now, we're still investigating. But on the other hand, the cousin of Javion says that law enforcement officials will not allow Magee's mother to identify her son and refuse to send a photograph of the body to identify Javion Magee. Social media users responded to the call, with dozens of people making their own videos in which they allege that Magee was murdered while criticizing Henderson officials. And also, Magee's family hired national civil rights attorney Harry Daniels, who is based in Atlanta, and Lee Merritt, who is based in Philadelphia, according to a press release sent out on Friday afternoon. So the family is planning on fighting this whole ordeal and basically probably suing Henderson County and law enforcement there for not doing their jobs and rushing through this whole investigation, and allegedly saying that Javion Magee did this horrible act to himself. Daniel said that the statement was premature of the law enforcement to say that Javion Magee indeed inflicted this act upon himself. And he said this is premature, especially considering the history of racial tensions in the South. Jason Keith, whose firm is based in Greensboro, is also representing the family. The NAACP, North Carolina, also expressed deep concern about Magee's death, calling for a thorough and transparent investigation in a press release. We demand a comprehensive and transparent investigation to uncover the truth behind this tragedy. As a community, we cannot rest until we have clear answers, said NAACP North Carolina President Deborah Dix Maxwell. So according to reports, the law enforcement there in Henderson is saying that they contacted Javion Magee's tractor trailer business, right, who he drives for, and they told them that, hey, these are all the points and GPS locations that Javion traveled during that time in Henderson County, right, Vance County. They're all connected, right? So he went to that Walmart, and that's when they're saying that, you know, he had the receipts when they searched his semi-tractor trailer for that rope, right, that was around his neck. He had the receipts for that. So that's basically, you know, them trying to wrap up this whole investigation and saying, look, he bought the rope, you guys. He had the receipt along with his ID for us to identify him. And now, you know, the family is saying, hey, whoa. You know, how do you just come up with this, you know, premature, you know, answer that Javion Magee did this to himself? Maybe there was some foul play, but then again, authorities are saying, according to video surveillance, Javion was all alone. Nobody was with him. It wasn't a straggler or along, wasn't nobody riding with him to, you know, commit this act to Javion. And also they're saying on the video surveillance, they seen him walk away after he parked his tractor trailer, right? He was by himself when he walked away. So we have to ask ourselves, since that video surveillance camera picked up Javion Magee's movements, walking away from his tractor trailer after he parked it there at T&R Repair, right? How far did that surveillance video capture? Did it actually show the actual crime scene of him sitting down in front of wherever tree he was located at that next day? Because this is telling us, you guys, that Javion Magee obviously spent all of his time from the time that he got out of that truck and walked over there towards the tree he was found at, all the way to the time the next day of 10 a.m. to where he was found by law enforcement, Detective Libra, or whatever his name is. Wow. Also, they told us that they tracked Javion to a smoke shop and he purchased some smoking papers. So this is telling us. And they also mentioned he had a white bag in his hand when he walked away from the tractor trailer headed into that area where the tree that he was found was located, right? So we can assume that if he went to a smoke shop, right, to purchase some smoking papers, right, was Javion under the influence? Will we see that he indeed had some marijuana off in his system when the toxicology report comes back? And why would Javion do this to himself, you guys? This is very, very suspicious. And nobody seen Javion all that time. You know, he's right there up under the tree doing his thing. He's obviously smoking. And if that's the case, why Javion couldn't smoke off in his truck? Now, this is very weird to me that Javion had to get out of his truck after he left that smoke shop, right, with those smoking papers that he allegedly bought, just to go sit by a tree and allegedly smoke some weed. I mean, because what else would he roll up, right? So, you know, according to the news reports, right, they didn't tell us this, but in the news article, it mentions the smoking papers in the smoke shop that he went to. So I wonder why they tried to keep, and they did keep that out of the news reports, right? And in the article, it clearly states that Javion Magee did go by a smoke shop. He had a white bag when he exited the tractor trailer, right? And he went outside that fenced-in area to a tree. And obviously, we can say that, you know, he was there possibly smoking some marijuana at that time when he was at that tree. Well, hey, who knows? But what we do know is that they're telling us that Javion Magee had a white bag. Was that bag located at the scene? They didn't say that. And I found that very suspicious that they told us what shoes he had on, some Crocs. They said that, you know, the rope was there around his neck, but not in a knot, not in a noose. So basically trying to say that, you know, he did this to himself. But they never mentioned the white bag on the crime scene at that tree when his body was found. I wonder why they left that out, but they told us that when he left the tractor trailer that Javion had this white bag in his hand. And also, why did Javion Magee leave Walmart and go to the Hampton Inn? Is it assumed that he tried to get a room there? Well, yeah, I mean, that's what a hotel is for, right? So maybe Javion tried to get a room, you know, to go smoke this marijuana that he had allegedly, since he bought some smoking papers, right? And upon himself finding out that the Hampton Inn was already filled up with clients, filled up with guests, he could no longer get a room there. So he goes and parks his tractor trailer allegedly at this T&R repair, right? Tractor repair yard. And he gets out of his truck with this white bag and he disappears on surveillance camera. Wow. Only to be found the next day deceased. And according to all the different reports, I only seen one report stating that, you know, his body was found across from the Baptist church and this tractor trailer repair shop, right? And it seems to me that, you know, maybe somebody could have possibly seen Javion sitting up under that tree according to how the highway is, and that Shell station, that gas station is across the street as well. Then you have the Baptist church. Then you have this tractor and trailer repair shop across the street. Then you have another tractor and trailer yard across from that tractor and trailer yard that Javion Magee was parked at, you guys. So it seems to me that somebody had to see Javion Magee sitting up under that tree at some point. And all this information is very mysterious, leading up to the suspicious death of Javion Magee there in Henderson or Vance County. And I find that very crazy that they can't, differentiate what actual county it is, Henderson or Vance. Well, who knows? At the same time, will we get the answers that we need? Because they're saying that this preliminary autopsy doesn't give us answers to how the man with the rope around his neck actually died at this time. So I find that very, very suspicious, you guys. How is it 2024 and a preliminary autopsy can't even determine how this young black man that was said to be unalived by his own doing? Well, who knows, you guys? Maybe we will finally get some answers once the official autopsy and toxicology report comes back. But nevertheless, keep it locked to OG Jucario TV, because I will keep you tuned in what's going on with the death of Javion Magee, the 21-year-old black truck driver who was said to be unalived in a sundown town. But many people are saying that that's not true, because they're saying that Henderson, North Carolina, is mostly black. So with this being a predominantly black town of Henderson, how could this be a sundown town? Well, who knows, you guys? And another thing that I found very suspicious is that they told Javion Magee's family that they couldn't view his body, couldn't see him at the hospital due to COVID restrictions, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, I thought that right there had been over. I thought COVID, those restrictions have been lifted. So why all of a sudden would they use this to say, well, hey, you can't view Javion's body because of COVID restrictions? Wow, really? That's very suspicious. So, y'all make sure y'all keep it locked to OG Jucario TV as I bring y'all more updates in the mysterious death of Javion Magee. So until the next time, keep it locked to OG Jucario TV for the latest in rap, hip-hop, celebrity, and urban news. You're watching the Rundown Podcast. I appreciate everybody for spinning with me. I appreciate all my subscribers for sliding with your boy every time. And say, hey man, keep hitting that like button, keep hitting that subscribe button, and look, turn on post notification so we can slide whenever I get the drop. You already know what it is, man. It's deeper than Buddha, you hear me? And guess what? I'm gone.